Welcome to Boxcars, War Machine and Horde's supplementary podcast for War Room PL YouTube channel.
You can find us online at www.warroom.pl. You will also find our blog there. Visit and subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/warroompl for great video battle reports. You can also like our Facebook page for latest War Machine news under facebook.com/warroompl. If you have a small meta and want to develop as a player or just try out different lists in international environment, you can play online on Vassal. It's free, but you can support developers by donating. Welcome to episode 38 of Boxcars. I am Marcin and I'm playing Signar.
I'm Rafał and I'm playing Retribution.
I'm Tomasz and I'm playing Circle.
And we have a special guest with the special introduction, Dr. Norbert. What are you playing, Dr. Norbert?
Dr. Norbert's playing Troublehead still and having a good time. Yeah!
OP faction.
Yeah. Definitely. And I have a hooch hauler on the way.
Did you buy them?
From BAHI Europe or BAHI US?
Pow! All right, we're getting started, are we?
Opening salvos fire.
Open fire.
Yeah. No, I suppose it was during the discount time?
Yeah, the discount time made it a very attractive offer, and I happened to be timing a trip to the States around the same time, so it said everything was situated the right way to order a hooch hauler from BAHI USA.
Just one?
Okay.
Yes, just one. Hello.
But I don't think it's needed in more than one piece, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll find out.
What was the list was it Jaden that was playing 4 huge bases?
Yep.
Seeking
Yes.
and 3 battle engines?
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't it 2 hooch haulers?
No,
I think
it was two the other ones, I think.
Yeah, 2 war wagons.
Ah, okay, and 1 hooch hauler, right.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, we wanted to invite Norbert to talk a little bit about the situation of European meta. After our meeting during the ClockCon, we tried to organize a recording, but we postponed it after the con, so everybody is refreshed, or I would say, and get a clearer head than during the con, because the beer was flowing during the event, I suppose. There was a lot of things happening at that time. And there were some issues, of course, as Norbert put it out in the internet. So we had some BAHI Europe available, or maybe present at the con, and it got some resonance from United States also, from the United States. So we have some things to talk about.
Yep. And not to mention, it was the last ClogCon. We need that is a very significant event that we need to factor into our conversation.
Yeah, that was
the last one organized by Shanka, but maybe they will pick it up and continue by different people. There is a slight chance for that, isn't it?
I don't know. We can hope.
Yeah. That was what was the number of the ClogCons already? It was 5, I think. Or 6 even, because I think the first one was 2012. I saw it somewhere in the internet.
That's right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's right. This was like the third time that we did it at that nice hotel by the airport. Mm-hmm. And we did it once before in a bridge club. And then, so that's 4 times. And I think 2 times it was in like more of a game shop kind of a situation.
Okay. And for some time, up till 2016, it was also European Invitational.
That's right.
And that was that brought more prestige to the event, but still it was, I think, the most competitive event in Europe right now, with the best players playing at ClockCon usually every year.
Yeah. The Invitational was a really good idea. I mean, it was clearly modeled after the one that War Machine Weekend uses for itself. where they take the winners of all the best events around the United States and bring them together for an invitational at their event. And so we wanted to do something similar and pull that all together. And in fact, a Polish guy won it one year, Konrad.
Yeah, Konrad won it. Yeah, right. At the end of Mark II, I think it was.
Yeah, that was the last time I was at the Bridge Club, actually. So
okay. Still, I think that with the clock on closing or maybe following on, but still we have to thank Sanka for organizing the event, and you, Norbert, for helping to organize that, because I think it was the best convention that we have or had in the EU, right?
I mean, I think the Invitational stood out compared to some other ones, but there are a few other 3-day events happening in Europe that are quite important. So, I don't want to take anything away from those events because they're all quite important. And I think that's a big part of this conversation about just how important every convention is to the European meta, and what does it say about the European meta when one of them dies.
Yeah. But do you think it was the matter of the turnout of the players, or it's rather the lack of or maybe the want to having some rest at Sanka's side?
Sure.
Both of that.
Sure, I would have to say both. I mean, it was a real struggle for him this year. Him and his wife, let's not forget, Jory is a big part about this. If it was a big thing where it was very easily attended, he got the attendance he needed and it wasn't stressful each year, I think it might have gone longer. But it was a real struggle this year, and it has been a struggle every year to get the number of people he needed to break even. And so, at some point you get tired of that. And so I can completely understand why I didn't want to do it any longer. But, we used to be able to get much bigger numbers at our events in general. And every event I know is struggling to attract players.
Yeah, but do you think it's the problem that we have too many events, or we have too few players?
Too few players, 100%.
Yeah, I think the meta, the quantity of players is shrinking. Right, they are escaping to different game systems.
Yes,
unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the other systems. It's more, I think people are just having different things on their heads or in their lives, and they just stop playing War Machine because it requires a lot of time and a commitment, I would say. And maybe more casual players are moving to 40k or, I don't know, Guild Ball or whatever, but a lot of players also just finish to finish and not to... Okay.
Yeah, I don't have to search very wide. I'm just looking at my local meta.
Okay.
That the players are going one to 40k, one to Flames of War, and the shop closing, and there is no shop willing to take War Machine at all. The prospects don't look very well for my city. So
can you say why those people left them?
For sure, one wasn't attracted to War Machine as a system and would rather play Flames of War. The other one was playing for like 2 years and wasn't winning. He couldn't handle the complicity of War Machine and started playing 40k, where he is one of the top players. So this and the shop closing is completely different matter. But the other shop that we have in our town doesn't want to pick up War Machine because there is too few players and too big investment to carry War Machine. The shop rather carries 40k and Games Workshop stuff because that brings money,
right?
Together with Magic. So from this, I know that the rest of the players is now probably thinking, do I want to continue on the system where I don't have even place to go and play? I'm a stubborn bastard, so I will not surrender that easily, but I know that
he has some, because it's different every city, and it depends on the strength of the meta also. Because in our city, we had like a low point before I started to play, but then some people jump into the War Machine because other games that they were playing were discontinued by Games Workshop, for example. I mean, Hobbit was not supported at all, and right now we have quite okay. We have a shop that is maybe not willing to do a lot for the War Machine, but it's giving us a place at least. So this is one thing, and we have some influx of new players through the friends and family. and also some just new players coming by because they see that we play every day. And this is something that Marcin is lacking because of the quantity of the players in his meta. It's really hard to organize a meeting every day, so the people can see that there are players playing War Machine. And in my city, it's that we met on Thursdays, and we have like 4 people coming to our meta because they have seen that we are visiting regularly, and they are thinking that the system is okay enough, and they have some back issues with the 40k or something like that. So it depends. And how is it in Tomasz? How is it in Krakow? Do you have any information?
Yeah, I think the scene is pretty stable now. We have around 20 people in our meta, and they are cycling. So every week you can see 8 players in the club, and so some time you can see others, some other time you can see others, depending on what's going on in their lives. But meta is pretty alive, and now after WTC, a lot of people got excited about the game, about Polish getting to the finals, and we can see some new blood coming into the system. But I think it's in my local meta, War Machine is the biggest game in our local game store, but I think it's also the biggest meta in the whole Poland. So it's just an exception.
So it seems that this is the case where big metas are handling themselves very well and are growing, and small metas just die out. Because I was talking to Lucy about Germany, and he says they have, in general, a lot of people has left, and a lot of organizers stopped organizing events. And he is one of the few who is keeping on organizing bigger events. And also fewer people are willing to travel to events. As they see the War Machine as too competitive, maybe, or too difficult.
Yeah, but I think that I read it somewhere that if you want to have a meta alive, you should not play only the base 75-point games, but organize all the events. And I saw it on some American website that as long as they organize other stuff like leagues or like those starter leagues also, or some kind of different events than the
Journeyman League. I mean, this is true, because when we organized Journeyman League, and it brought some older players back, and everything was going fine, and then the shop went bankrupt. And
yeah, so in my meta, when I started playing the game, I remember that there were every first week of a month we have a battle group tournament, which was advertised as new players friendly, that you can borrow models, you don't need to have them, and there's always a guy that will guide you through the game, through the rules, and will help you. So that was the easy way to jump into the game for me and for many players. And even those competitive ones enjoyed the tournament. And yeah, it was very successful, but with time, there were no new players incoming anymore. And those old players got bored with the format.
How is it in your meta, Norbert?
So I think I'm in an exceptional situation in that our club, the Cross Gaming Club in London, always had a very strong War Machine aspect to it. And so I think that when players come, they get attracted to knowing that there's a good place there, and so that's fine. So we have a pretty healthy group. But it's, I don't think, the same across the UK. I mean, in general, all the events here are having trouble filling up with players than they had in the past. And I attribute it to the casual players going away. You always see you tend to see like the same sort of competitive type people, but you don't really see new people all the time, or the people that were just play for fun. I don't think they're there anymore, and so the events all suffer because of that. Because only really competitive people are coming, rather than being something that all players aspire to come to.
Do you think this is the matter? This is the problem of the players playing, or the problem of the system, or a bit of both?
I think War Machine got very complex It's still a very tight game. It's the best written, and it's all very clear and lots of options. But that also brings with it a lot of complexity. And at the same time, GW got its act together and started making games that were halfway decent and much easier to deal with and get into, or you could use your old models for. And so between the two pressures, the ultimate result was that fewer people wanted to continue in the very intense environment that War Machine is.
I want to say that GW is really on the offensive. The amount of various games they brought back and are releasing is stunning. So if you are an old fan of GW like me, I got into Kill Team, but of course not as involved as in War Machine. Like I played last month 30 games of War Machine and 4 games of Kill Team, so it's not the same scale. But also the time, money, and everything investment in Kill Team is much less. So
right, exactly.
But when I looked at the ClubCon and the players and so on, like Norbert said, it was mainly the old faces. But even statistically, there should be some new players. But because this is what maybe in our city it's not so much. But what do you see is that the War Machine is becoming the old players' game. Don't you think so?
I'm a new player.
Yeah, but you are old still.
You are not a new player anymore. After 1 year, you are old player.
All right.
No, but do you know what I mean? That there are no. I don't know if it's the same in UK or in USA, but there are no 16-year-olds or 17-year-olds playing War Machine on any other game. I don't know. I don't see it when I see the photos from the even 40K tournaments. Is it really changing that much? Do you think?
I think the loss of the press gang has meant that a lot of new blood is not coming in as quickly as it used to. That's what I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, the UK is incredibly lucky because thanks to Games Workshop, you have a biggest player pool in the world. I would say, per city or whatever, because you had most GW shops, and you were so to say from young children will learn to play war games, right? And
right,
it wasn't that popular in any other country in the world, I think.
Sure, yeah, but at the same time, though, those players then get used to playing in GW's IP and the kind of games that GW likes to put out. And, in the past, they were being mistreated by the company, and so it was easy to walk away from them. But now that they actually are getting good quality games and attention as a player base, it's easier for them to go back to what they're kind of ingrained in their hearts as what they remember growing up or what they started with. It's a problem.
Yeah, this is true. On the other hand, I tried lately for the last 2 years maybe, tried to get some games with 40K. And it's after playing War Machine, it's no go. I tried hard, really. I played some games, and it's so
you are dice dependent. So is Kill Team.
Not even the dice, but it's so I don't. You don't. The thinking does not bring the results too much. No, this is what I meant. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is the problem with the games of Games Workshop. That's I don't know. I would love to play a good game, but it's difficult.
No, you're right. But the problem is that 90% of the player base is casual, not tournament focused, and they don't want to put up with all the nonsense that you have to do to play War Machine and have a chance of winning.
Yeah, I mean, I play Kill Team mainly because I have a large collection of miniatures from different systems, and whenever people visit me, they look at it and wow, can you teach me? And I'm like thinking, can I teach you play War Machine? Yeah, probably in a year or a few months you could be a good player, or I cannot teach somebody play War Machine. I wouldn't know how to begin. I'm not a good teacher, but I can teach somebody play Kill Team. And probably within 1 hour there will be a decent Kill Team player, and the tactics don't matter that much because I have been beaten by people who I was showing them how the Kill Team works,
So this is probably attracting people because they can jump in, they learn within 1 hour the rules, and they can play 10 games and win 5 of them. And in War Machine they would play 10 games and lose 10 of them, because this is what happens when you start.
Yeah.
So with the short attention span and immediate reward, War Machine is not good for the current, let's say, I don't know, people.
Generation X.
Generation. Yeah, it's a difficult game to get results and to get good feeling about it in the short time. So
yeah, War Machine doesn't bring instant gratification. Definitely not.
No, that's the problem. Yeah, I don't know, but the it's as much complicated as War Machine, and it's easier to play with the starter box of War. The Company of Iron with the a little bit different rules and so on. So does it catch up in England at all?
I haven't seen anybody playing it. No, I mean, I don't hear it discussed very much. But I'm in a very localized meta, obviously. But no, I don't know. It's a good point you're making, though, where it's not like that much different from War Machine. It's just smaller, and so it's still complicated.
It is.
Okay, so we complained a little bit about the game itself.
Mm-hmm.
A view of the game is, I think, the best that it ever was. It's
for sure.
Don't you get a feeling that there is a bit of power creep starting? That every new model has to be good enough so it sells in enough quantity? Because I never want to complain about such a things, because I believe in the developers that they will do their job and don't create too powerful models. But lately I sometimes get a feeling that maybe some of those models are a bit too much. Look at Judy or...
So I don't agree with you, Marcin. I think the Judicator or starter is not a new model. It's an old model, so it's not like they're releasing something to sell it. They are just fixing the old models, so we can see some huge bases on the table that we haven't seen for a while. And I think it's a good thing. Like, if you look at the game, Judicator looks overpowered, but if we look at actual table performance, that Judicator is not winning tournaments. Maybe one in Australia I saw a Reclaimer winning or somewhere, but it's not like the finals is Judicators versus Judicators.
It's Legion versus Legion.
Now in CID we saw Iona, and that was like, if they release Elite Cutter Dodge, I would say there's a power creep, but they didn't. They cut it to command range, not even control range, just command range. So I think, like, from my perspective as a circle player, when I saw Iona in CID, I was like, I'm not going to play anything else but Iona. She's just that good. And now I'm like, I don't know if I'm even gonna play her. I mean, I'll for sure try, but she's not outshining other options in the faction. So I think they are making a very good job with CID, that they are finding the spot where something is really good and attractive, but it's not over the top, so people can find counters to it. But it's not easy. Like, the new thing must be strong, must be exciting for players to put it on the table, but it's not so good that we see everyone that jumps onto the new thing winning everything. Like, we still see Osram winning tournaments, and Osram like didn't get any change for a long time. We see Kruger 2 in the meta, and the last CID change was in winter last year. So I don't agree with the power creep. I think it's just finding a balance that's above what was considered balanced when Mark III started.
Marcin is complaining because Signal is weak.
I don't know. I would be saying the same if I was playing minions, but the power creep is that models are getting constantly bigger, and everybody already noticed that the armor values and damage output values are getting higher. And this is for me a power creep. I'm not saying that one model has to rule them all and win everything because it's released. It's just the power creep might be slower than it's not, and things are not balanced down and just keeps getting added.
Yeah, but nerfing is not so good as bringing up some stuff.
Yeah.
Or making something stronger is making people more happy. So I suppose this is how the games are made.
Yeah, but compare cavalry from mercenaries to new cavalry from Legion.
Was not in CID.
I know, but
this is the
when they will, the new things that are released and are in the CID, they are getting much better than the old things. So when the old things will get into CID, they will get better. Or you see that's the power creep, that things will be constant. So you have to buy a new thing because it's a bit better than the old thing.
Or they might they are trying to find a balance that's above what was considered balanced when the cavalry started, because the game was different. We had a different scenario package, we had different releases, so this is what actually makes the game exciting, because things are changing. It's not like the meta is stagnant. It's not like we keep using the same things that are just the strongest. Like new things are released, new strong combos appear. We change things, and they are trying to find a spot when a model is like exciting to play. Like look at Archangel. They released it out of CID. People were like saying it's too strong from outside of Legion, and the Legion players were saying it's too weak. They don't want to put it on the table. It's just not attractive. And with the time, we see that no one plays Archangel, like only some like casual players, which we don't see a lot in the War Machine. And
yeah,
now,
I agree. Some models are bad, just like Dracodile.
Yeah,
nobody plays Dracodile.
But they fixed Archangel with Circle CID. They've added flying high rule. They made it cheaper. So they are looking at those things. They want to make it exciting, and like Archangel is a good example of them not trying to make things over the top. They are trying just to find a sweet spot where you want to put it on the table, but it's not going to be dominating the meta. Yeah,
auto-include they call it. And how is it about trolls, Norbert?
Sorry?
How do you like trolls? No, I'm asking Norbert, how do you like trolls right now?
Trolls are, I think, in a good place. I don't think that they are overpowered, really. They have they're kind of middle in the road in a lot of senses. So I don't think they're terribly overpowered. They're not underpowered necessarily. I think some of the caster roster is a little narrow, but not horrifically narrow. Colgrima was a very good addition, just because she does things quite differently from the rest of the trolls, so that's quite good. I think not having the hooch hauler more readily available does also kind of limit things a little bit, because I think it's quite a different model. I'm really quite looking forward to trying it out. Storm of the North in general was a very good addition to the system, and so. You could make an argument that that's a power creep, but I kind of agree with Tomasz in that, they're basically coming around to addressing models, and they can't do it all at once. And just so the ones that they come across are the ones that kind of look better, but really they're the kind of the ones that are just being put to right, so to speak.
Okay. And when we are talking about models, we can go to the another point of our, let's say, discussion. How does the availability of the models for the War Machine look like? Because from our perspective in Poland, it's not so good. And how is it in England?
I know that people were struggling to buy Stalkers, Crick Stalkers, for instance, and also Toros. So that's a problem. And I know that, like, for me, there's not a lot of local shops so everything has to be done by mail order, which is a shame. And even then by mail order, sometimes stuff isn't coming through. So like I wanted to buy a Gobber Chef, and it was available, but like within a couple of weeks of me wanting it. But that's quite different from what I'm used to, which is like everything's immediately available, essentially.
Yeah, but have you noticed the lack of stock lately in Marcin to order things, and it was like
terrible. It's terrible.
80% out of stock, for example.
Yeah, definitely.
I own all the armies for War Machine. I don't own all the models for each army, so I sometimes buy from different armies. And believe me, things that are not available, it's incredible how many. I had to buy Centurions for my list from States because they were not available in Europe completely. Sold out everywhere.
Yep, so I could say the same thing about suppression tankers. I was looking for suppression tankers, and they weren't in stock, and there's like only one strike tanker, which is the less popular one, available.
Yeah.
Maybe it's more. It's happening more, but also in talking about US stock levels. This is also the same, that they have problems with the. Problem with the company? Is it a problem that they have too many codes, too many products in their line, and they cannot just have...
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I know I'm not happy about the fact that we can't get the same sort of resin and plastic models here that happen in the States in many instances, which is really not nice. But as far as like general availability, why is it becoming more difficult? I don't know. The company is launching Monpok again at the same time as it's doing some new factions coming out, and so maybe it's just that they've overstretched their production capability.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, and we have to separate European distribution from the States. They probably in States have sometimes model availability problems, but we have them constantly because
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Complain about that.
This is the simple truth. It's not even complaining.
It's truth.
But
if anything is going to change, but I don't think, because the company that is distributing in Europe is for a long time, right, Norbert? Because you are the oldest player here. Time-wise. So is it like that always? Cerberus was.
Well, no. I think in the past we used to get the models as quickly as the United States did. In sufficient quantities, for sure. I mean, definitely things feeling a lot different than when I arrived here six and a half years ago now.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And is there a person to talk to about European distribution?
Well, that's the thing. A lot of it was being handled out of the UK via a company called Cerberus, where they would actually make the metal models and also provide some distribution. But at the same time, I don't know all of it, but at the same time, I know of some distributors in various countries like France and Germany who could operate separately from Cerberus. And so, there were lots of different mechanisms, is my point, that were involved in the process, but maybe now are not involved anymore. It's hard to say.
In Europe stopped stocking War Machine, maybe because I don't know, maybe lack of the interest. More, I think, as far as I remember, it was some German company called Ulysses. They don't. That's right.
Yeah, and I think the same thing for the French one. The French one pulled out of the game as well, because I remember them selling off all their stock. So do you find that all your guys are doing mail order now? Is that how they're getting their models?
Mainly, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And is it from the States, or is it mail order through the European companies?
No, we try to use UK.
There is there are two decently stocked shops in Poland that are doing mail order, but if they are out, that means that probably most of the shops will be out, except maybe Elemental Games. Was it the shop, the big shop in the UK?
That's one of them. There's Wayland, Element, Firestorm, and the Outpost. Those are the big ones I can think of.
But yeah. So
sometimes I always order through my local game store, and except if I need something really like for a tournament or something, then I just look for every single store in Europe where the thing is available, where I can get it as quickly as possible. But usually it's through local game store. They order directly from PP, I believe, but the waiting time is horrible. Sometimes it's within 2 weeks. Sometimes I wait like for Crockpot, I wait like 1.5 months now. So,
oh wow,
it's probably not available in PP Europe.
Yeah,
because it was a model from States. It wasn't produced locally, so they have to bring it from States.
Yeah, it's in resin, so.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I noticed that the things that are available in resin, so they are produced in States and imported to Europe, they are best available when they are launching, so they have a little bit more stock. But then after they are sold out, it seems like it's a break of 3 months before they get any restock or availability whatsoever. It's much better with the smaller models or the ones that they made in UK, because they cast them with with this special how do you call it, compound. So instead of resin, they make them in metal. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but usually resin is better because it does not scratch so much and so on.
Yeah, and much lighter.
Yeah, it's easier to transport, that's for sure. Yeah, if you have many models. I have resin and metal Marauders for Kriegs, and they are like 3 times more heavy than the American ones, let's say.
Yep.
And the details on resin are usually better. Okay, but we were complaining a little bit. I mean, sharing the views, but still it's not so good in our opinion, and we are like the people that are organizing events or participating in them and trying to get some new faces or trying to expand the European meta in our actions. Do you think, guys, that if it may have European players or European organizers or European stores, I don't know, do you think that it will bring any help to the growth? Many cons in the United States that are supported, that are PP is participating because it's at the Adepticon, it's, I don't know, Gen Con, it's right. the War Machine Weekend, the Las Vegas Open, and so on and so on. Do you think it's worth it to try it?
100%. I think it would be a massive statement by the company in terms of its stake in Europe and becoming a focal point of activity around Europe. In addition, being able to sell some of these models that we don't get a hold of so easily would be a major draw for those people, and just having the culture. I mean, the reason around them, the reason one of the most important smog cons was when Privateer Press started showing up, and it just became a celebration of the company, intermingling with the employees, and also being privy to some of the new releases and things, and just being treated kind of the same way that we get the American con experiences treated as, I think makes a huge difference. I mean, it's just a perception thing, if nothing else, in terms of the commitment of the company.
Yeah. Do you think that our let's say, bragging is not the correct word, I'm missing one, but our BAHI Europe thing, or complaint bickering at United States, it's maybe because we are feeling neglected? Do you think this can cause this?
Yeah, for sure. Even if all the it's a matter of public relations. Okay, even if the BAHI situation is a legitimate business decision, in light of everything else that's going on around Europe, it just is the wrong statement to send. You see what I mean? And so it needed to, if it had to be that way, there needed to be other compensatory mechanisms in place to try to mitigate the negative PR or the negative reaction that we'll be having. And in fact, if the community was healthy and happy, they would be disappointed with this kind of decision, but ultimately be relatively happy with things. It's because the community is not happy with things overall that this seems like such an affront to them and becomes magnified more than perhaps it would in other circumstances.
Yeah. Because on the other hand, it's not that they are not trying, because if you order BAHI with the first or even later release, you get a free shipment, but then due to the taxes and due to the customs, you get like 30% more in the price. So this is something that is... Then honestly, because I know a little bit how it works in States and in Europe, this is the biggest problem that the PP is facing, and this is not honestly their fault. In Europe, everywhere is VAT tax. It's something normal that we pay, but it's very difficult to compensate or to combine those two systems. That's why they are producing things in UK for the European sales, because they are cutting this. Normally, if you buy something from the Europe, you just does not pay the VAT unless you are the end buyer. And for the company that is selling goods in Europe, from States, you have to first pay the turnover tax in the States, and then you have to add the VAT that is paid everywhere. So everything is at once more expensive. And if they had the capability to produce in Europe the BAHI models, then maybe it will be cheaper. But on the other hand, they don't have enough customers here. So it seems like it's the Salam, how do you call it? It cannot be solved in any matter that will make everybody happy. But I agree that. Yeah,
like if they change their business model, maybe they would find one. Like until they find, we don't know it. It reminds me of Forge World in GW. Was it the same thing that they had US based some resin models but most of them were alternatives to existing models in the game, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or they are not allowed in the competitive gaming, and this is something that is major because you can compare Forge World, and people are from America is bringing them this topic all the time when we are talking about BAHI. But the difference with the Forge World is mainly it's just an addition. Now it's available; it can be played in the competitive scene of 40K, but for the most of the time it was not. It was not possible. It was just a collector's model.
Yeah, but they don't need to produce the models in Europe. They could just do European distribution of BAHI.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple options. I mean, depending on what they're. We don't privy to all the background information, so it's hard to say which one of these would be the most spent. But you can, for instance, send parts over to Europe and they do finally a final assembly here, and that reduces the VAT tax. You could be making the materials here in the first place, which is then removes the VAT altogether. You could drop ship all of the material, make a major order into one central hub that is Privateer Press Europe, like an actual business entity here, and that changes the tax dynamic. So there's lots of different options. These kind of options, I think, needed to be explored prior to this when they were in their heyday and they had a lot of money to spend. That would have been the time to do it, is to make that kind of investment and make themselves immune to these sorts of dips in the game, or mitigate the dips in the game. But that time's over, and so the question is then which of those remaining options are still the best? And are they prepared to invest to try to reattract the European audience?
Yeah.
The problem is that they have the rumors going on that they are or were prepared to sell the company, and they wanted their numbers to look good. That this is not the time for investments, I guess.
Right.
So they don't want to spend any money. They just want to have their final sheets look good.
Yep. And it's hard to. It's hard not to think that when they wrap up. What is it called? No Quarter Prime gets wrapped up.
Yeah.
None of the books are coming out anymore. None of the Skull Island fiction is coming out anymore. The press gang's been removed. There's no investment in the conventions, at least here. So you have to start asking yourself, why is this happening?
Yeah.
So, although the game is great and it's getting very balanced, there are a lot of issues with the politics surrounding. So to say.
I don't think it's politics. It's business management.
Okay, business management. Yeah.
That seems it. Yeah, the game itself, it does have some problems. It's too large, it's too complicated for newcomers, but ultimately a very solid game set. It's business management practice that I think is holding the game back now at a critical moment when their competition has woken up and really become strong, and not just GW but other kinds of competition as well.
Yeah. Something that we have noticed in Poland, and that because in the old times, like 5 or 10, maybe 5 years ago or 10 years ago, there were like 2 or 3 systems that were people playing. War Machine was also had a heyday at the mid of Mark II. In Poland, we had a distributor that sold stuff, and it was popular in Poland. But besides, there were, let's say, Fantasy Battles and 40K. And right now, we played also a different system, the historical one, the Flames of War. And right we have 20 systems with 5 players. There are 2 master tournaments for Flames of War for 12 people, and once it was 40 or 32 or something like that. There are tournaments for 40K that have 12 people, and normally it was 30 or more. It seems like that the whole scene of the wargaming has been divided into quite a lot of small parts.
Small niches, yeah. There is a game for everybody, about everything.
Yeah.
X-Wing, Fallout... you name it.
Which is good. This is a good thing, but it does ask businesses to rise to the challenge of competition and not do things the same way they've always done in order to remain relevant and competitive.
We have to. We don't have to, but I think that's the involvement of PP in Europe. But I want to end our talk. It's general. We are not talking or whatever. We are talking about players that we may have or may not have in the future to play with. Okay, in sort of way, this is the most important podcast that we have ever done. Because
yeah, exactly. If we want to play that game for another years, then we have to have opponents to do that.
Right. And so let's get to that, because we talked a lot of negative, so it's good to say let's talk about positive. And I don't just mean oh, War Machine's great, rah rah rah, you should play it. It's talking about what can you do on a local level to try to get the game to continue and be enjoyable, like you've always wanted to do. And that's why the death of ClogCon, I feel, is one of the most significant negative events that has been entirely in the hands of the players. Okay, it ended because it was too much of a struggle to attract players to come, and so the organizers got tired of it. And fair enough to them; they've done it for a number of years, so that added to it as well. But it's clearly that they've struggled to get it to go up higher. But BonesCon is having the same problems. It's had to contract what it wants to do compared to what it's had been able to do in the past years. And so, what is it that's going on? Going out to a convention is, I feel, the highlight of why you're playing a game. And it's not to be in the competitions necessarily. It's the celebration about being amongst your own people and getting a chance to intermingle with those folks and learning new things and also being competitive if that's what you want to do. I try so hard. I write so many articles and posts, explaining to people this is what's involved. You don't have to be upset. Not upset. Worried about how difficult this is going to be. It's a very easy situation. This is about how much it's going to cost you. This is what you can expect to do there. These are the reasons why you want to be there, because of all the fun stuff that's going on there. And, you look at the pictures that we post up. It's never a bad time. It is literally never a bad time. And yet people don't come unless there's somebody really strongly motivated to try to get their group to come and kind of help organize it, which has always been the case in the past. But I don't know what it is. And so it's important to keep these things alive, because I don't think without these kind of intermingling of on a regional level, a game does not continue to grow. Otherwise it just becomes little pockets of basement gamers playing with each other, and that eventually will die out, and it's less fun.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, on one hand, when I checked the old data for the War Machine, it seems that were less bigger events, but a lot of smaller ones. Looking at least at the German tournament scene, and now there are fewer events, but people are trying to get a better value of the visit. So like. We have a Conquest now coming in the January. We have Belgian Masters, that is Masters event. We have also, I think in Slovenia, is it right, Tomek, that they have a convention soon or happening right now?
Yeah, team tournament.
Yeah, so it seems that the choice is there. People are not participating.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have this idea, do you think that organizing something like a European, because we see that PP is not involved almost at all at this, and they don't care so much. So do you think that organizing the circuit that will bring, that will end with the sort of to increase the attendance, to ask the organizers to participate in such an event, and then to bring it all together in sort of the end of the year con?
We did that. We tried to do that to help ClogCon gain more attendance for 2 years. Okay, Conrad won one of them, and the fellow from Norway won the other one. Jarle won the other one, and I think it was quite successful. But I didn't, in terms of like the competition level, bringing people together. But we didn't see enough of an uptick in our numbers at ClogCon to say that it really helped matters. And I also didn't see like people trying to travel to other events in order to qualify, which is what you see at War Machine Weekend. War Machine Weekend, all the qualifiers, people will travel to different events specifically because they want to qualify, and they didn't manage to qualify in their local event, and so they're going off to another event. I'm not seeing that here, and it's come a long way. I'm going to step back. When I first came here, it was very provincial, so like people would only go to their own country's main event, and that was it. And over time, I started helping people see what else was going on around Europe, and I started seeing more travel happen, which was really gratifying. And then maybe 2 or 3 years ago, it was really quite high in terms of how many people traveling to different events. It was the golden age for us here. But the last 2 years, it's been back to, where there's not really traveling going on. And in fact, worse, like I've been saying, is that even the local events are having trouble getting filled up. And so we might be just pushing against a cultural difference between America and Europe, where travel is just not as acceptable in Europe. Now, you guys are natives, so you can tell me if that's the case or not from your perspective.
Well, international travel wasn't normal, so to say, even, but. Yeah, that's true. It's very easy. But look at, for example, I live on the German border. I have like 10 kilometers, and a couple of times I advertise War Machine tournaments on German sites, and nobody came. Although it's so close to them. We visited Berlin twice. Was it Rafał? Did we play twice in Berlin? In their Masters event. So when they have enough tournaments in their own garden, so to say,
right.
They don't want to travel to us, probably. That's too much hassle for them and too much unknown. They don't know what quality tournament it will be, etc., etc. But I'm thinking if you organize on ClogCon kind of invitational rounds right now with points, etc., etc., I think it would have much more interest currently. Like it's a couple of years later now, and people have more international knowledge probably about such events. I don't know. Now it's too late because ClogCon is discontinuing, but
yeah, but there are different events that we can, try to
convince
to become such a highlight of the year, right?
And because that's a logical double influence, right? If you have the people will go to qualifying events, and so they will increase traveling. How was the UK version? Was it UKIS? Was it called?
Yeah, UKIS, that's right. The UK Ireland Super Series.
I think that was a success, right?
Yes, I think so. On a relative scale. I mean, like I said, I think back in the heyday when we were doing the Invitational ClogCon, it was even more intense in terms of getting people out. But I think the UKIS system actually did get quite a few people out and was good from that perspective.
But are you continuing that, or it was 1 year event?
I don't know, because the people who started it really aren't involved anymore. Which says something, and so there's a question of whether it's going to get picked up again. Don't know. And that's within one country, so it doesn't really solve the problem. It doesn't address the problem, I should say.
So, do you think that's organizing something like a European? Maybe instead of qualifying, maybe trying to organize something like a European Championship will be easier. And because I was at the last SmokeCon, and it was 400 people playing there, War Machine, at once. Right. I saw it. It was a lot of people. It was 4 flights of Masters running in 2 days. Everyone was 64 people, right?
Yep.
And
casual games going on and hobby stuff going on. It was a whole con experience. Yeah, that was beautiful.
And do you think that maybe instead of trying to increase
I think so. I think if I had to choose between doing an invitational type system or having Lock and Load Europe come over as a full-blown privateer press endorsed convention with everything that comes with that, I would choose the Lock and Load one, because it's not about the tournament players at this point. It's about getting ordinary players back involved and excited about stuff.
So the conclusion out of this is that it seems that, honestly, I think that the only place where this event can happen is UK, because it has the biggest player base, and to UK is the problem will be Brexit, of course.
Yeah, Brexit, and it's an island, so it's not easy to get to. For me, I would be putting it in Germany somewhere.
Yeah, maybe it's even better. Yeah, because then the whole Europe can travel easier than we don't know how the Brexit will shake up, but that's the problem to talk about something like that in UK right now. But do we know? Is there anybody in Germany that do you think is somebody that we can talk to get such an?
Let's see. Yeah, he's looking pretty sharp right now.
Yeah, he's planning to do 3 cons next year in Germany. So
where is he located? He's in Hamburg.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
So it's not so bad location, because it's a big airport, big city, but on the other hand, it's not a major tourist city, so it's not so expensive. And as other cities in Europe, like London or things like that. But I think that.
What are you proposing, though?
Because it seems that everybody knows everything. So the states know that we are not good, and we are, cheating sort of with BAHI Europe. On the other hand, we are states and seeing that they take care of them, and they then don't take care of us. Okay, so I noticed that the most of the problems are lack of communication. So it doesn't have to be, of course, you, Norbert, but it seems that we need one person, just to send and start sort of communication with PP to ask about that. I asked about that long time ago, honestly, by myself, but I'm not a person, because I'm not let's say the social media person. So I'm nobody, let's say. But if somebody with the better name would ask them if they can, in any way participate in the idea of European sort of day of War Machine, whatever it's called, and we find somebody in Europe that will help to organize that with help of the other people, because it's obvious that if we can get a Lock and Load Europe happening, people from Poland will help, and people from, I suppose, UK will also help, because this will be the biggest event. The thing that when I ask Americans, what do you think? Why it's not happening in Europe? They always answered one sentence: this is not something organized by PP. This is something that they do by themselves, and PP participates. So I think that if we want to ask PP, then we have to do it in such a way that we have an event that will happen, and we would like you to participate in any way. Okay.
Right.
What do you think about that?
I think that's one method, but on the other hand, if you take a look at who makes Guild Ball, Steamforge. Steamforge, they run their Steamforge USA event, and they run a Steamforge Europe event. Mm-hmm. So, and they're surely smaller, if not the same size as Privateer Press. You know, and I think at this stage it needs that kind of, smaller, I would say. So it needs that more direct connection from the company at this stage. You know, in the past, I think what you said probably could work just fine, but at this stage, I think a significant gesture is needed to demonstrate a commitment.
Okay, but you know, recording a podcast and talking about that does not bring with several hundred listeners, maybe 1,000, maybe, or maybe 200. I don't know yet.
If Tomasz will post it, we'll get 1,000 easily.
Yeah, exactly. We have a
celebrity among ourselves.
No, but reality, guys, we are laughing and we are, you know, nitpicking at each other. But if we want to have something instead of complaining for 1.5 hours or something like that, I think this is called a decision time or whatever. Do you have any idea how to do it, Norbert? Because honestly, that's why I invited you in sort of a way.
Okay, yeah, sure. What, in terms of like trying to make something happen with Privateer Press? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. How to contact them to get at least an ear or something like that? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fine. Contacting them is not difficult. They obviously have a general way to get a hold of them. Loads of people are friends with them on Facebook, and so there'll be able to even some direct channels that they could go to. But they're going if you're going to go down that, right, you need to bring to them a very solid proposition in the first place. I don't think that, considering the way they've been working so far, I don't think that they're going to have a cooperative venture, so to speak. Rather, it might be one where you invite them into something that you can demonstrate to them is worth their while. That's kind of how the SmogCon model worked. And it hasn't worked since. So, you know, it's a question of bringing that to them. When, you know, that's why I was trying to advocate the idea of Lock and Load Europe happening, because that's entirely in their control. And they could still need to rely on the community to help them make things happen, let's say, but the driving force comes from the HQ, not the other way around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but how to bring it to them so they don't dismiss it right away, because that's a cost, that's something we have to do, and we don't want to, because we are just employees, and the main man is not interested in doing that. I'm just, you know, a devil's advocate here.
Yeah, I don't know.
This is the.
Do you know anybody that because of course I can write an email, because I had some contact with Hunderford. I can write him an email and ask about that. But it has to be somebody that is, I don't know, it should be somebody from Europe or maybe somebody through States asking them. I don't know. Honestly, I have no idea how to do it.
So do you presume, though, your question presumes that they don't have a sense of the situation in Europe? Is that true? Is that what you're thinking?
It seems so, because due to the lack of interest, it seems that they are losing money. And as company owner, I mean, it's a little bit counterproductive. I can understand that you are not interested in expanding company altogether all the time. I can understand. But on the other hand, you have a market and it's neglected. And I mean, it's easy to write a little bit of more of the sales here or whatsoever. And maybe some sort of explanation will be enough. I don't know, honestly.
Yeah, but see, in that position. Well, yeah, sure. I was absolutely. But I'm saying, if in that supposition that you just made, if I were the company, I would then, and couldn't do it on my own, but still wanted to show the demonstration of interest, I would put out a request for proposal. So put out, this is proposals that we're looking for. We're looking for an event that could be like this, with these kind of requirements and this kind of a thing. Send us your proposals that we could be in partnership with, you know? That would instigate a reaction, as opposed to just not doing, you know, doing it more passively.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, think about that. If you got a list of requirements from the company about what they'd be what they'd be interested in if they were actually going to entertain the idea of proposing it, I think that makes it a lot easier for them people to say, I could do that.
But do you mean that by the company, you mean that somebody from, I don't know, Europe proposes them to organize a con or something like that?
No, so Privateer Press will put out a request for a proposal. They'll say, we are interested in running Lock and Load Europe, but need a partner. If you're interested, we're looking for bids that satisfy these requirements. The room has to be this big. The hotel room has to be attached. It needs to be, have this kind of quality tables or what have you. I don't know what else. Whatever they're willing, whatever they need to have the other person do as opposed to themselves. And then say, in exchange, then we would be, looking to support you via attendance and con models, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I mean? That then lays out a circumstance with which people then can say, oh, and you know what, I could actually do that. I can put that together, and here are the costs for it, and make it a proposal, as opposed to passively, hoping that somebody will put that kind of a thing together and approach them with it.
Yeah, the thing is that, on the other hand, we have let's say a group of people that is organizing this every year, right now. Because this is what it's called WTC, right?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, I was gonna bring that up. The WTC is another reason why I think a lot of people stay home from cons, because the one thing that they do end up going to is the one regionally kind of centralized event, which is the WTC.
Yeah, but we have an expertise to organize an event like that. We as a community, not as a certain person, but
sure.
But I. PP to such a proposal, okay? This is my question. Is it because I can do it? It's not a problem. I can ask them. But do you think it's good, or do you think it's somebody else asks, like Tomasz, I don't know, Marcin, you, Norbert, or somebody else? I don't know.
I think the best person to ask them would be somebody with a track record of running big events that they could point to and say, I know what I'm doing.
Okay.
Like if Sanka do it, like someone that has already like CV that can show them, like I've run a ClockCon, here's how many people were there, here's were the costs and stuff, so they know that it's someone that can actually cover what it needs to be done.
Yep, agreed.
Okay,
that's going to be the person. Yeah, sorry, Rafał, go ahead.
No, that we have at least. When we are wrapping up this episode, we have at least an idea what to do, and this is something positive out of the our conversation.
Yeah.
That, but do you think that it has to be somebody from UK because they're running the biggest events, or
no?
Okay.
No. In fact, again, as much as I would like it in the UK, I think a mainland location would be have a lot of attraction to it. Maybe not over a UK event necessarily.
Okay, so
it has a lot of attraction to it.
Okay, so it seems like that we have to contact Lucy because he already organized some events, I know, and he participated in this because there was once Lock and Load Europe in Germany. I know it. It was 2015, I think, or something like that.
Two of them. There were two. One was not supposed to happen, but it did anyway, and then the other one was the Mark III event. I was at both. So yeah, you could use that, but let's talk about the positive aspects of Europe right now. We lost ClogCon, fine. BonesCon is struggling, but Conquest is in Oslo in January. That's going to be an amazing convention, worth going to. Those are good organizers. They know what they're doing. They could be partners with PP. The Battle at Lund guys in Sweden is happening in August. Fantastic organizers, really know what they're doing. Very good shape. That's an important convention to support. It's a 3-day convention. You mentioned Lutzi. He's got his event in Hamburg at least once already. That went really well. That was a 3-day event that was important to go to. And then you have the more regional events that are still quite important. So you have like the Belgian Masters, obviously, and I mentioned that in particular because it's the same group of people that have run the WTC now a couple of times, so they know what they're doing on big scales,
And there are some French events also, but due to the language barrier a little bit, it seems that they are not advertised too much. But I know that to the French events, the Germans and the Swedes are coming. To French events, the Germans and the Swedes were coming. So
it's Blood and Rust.
Okay.
Blood and Rust, in December now. Yep.
Yeah.
You know, my very first international travel event was in Poland. I went to the Polish Masters.
Okay.
Yeah, it was in a schoolhouse, sort of.
Yeah, we are trying to move away from that.
Yeah, the tables are very low to the ground.
Yeah, but we are trying to organize with Marcin some event in Poland that will be, you know, the convention type. So it's not normal masters, but with this sort of support, the sort of tournaments that conventions offers. So, like, you know, the simultaneous tournaments you can drop and play in the other one and so on. But it's still in details, and we are just thinking about the date, Marcin. It was June, but where it will happen and in what type, we don't know that yet, right, Marcin?
No, yeah, and if it happens, we don't know yet either.
Come on, yeah, that's he's sandbagging.
He's so grumpy lately.
From where I come from.
It's a perfect country to make a con like that, because everything is cheap, food is good, and it would compensate for someone like if someone has to fly all over to Europe or maybe from US one day. It's not gonna be as costly as maybe in Norway or Sweden.
Right.
I'm really happy that we are going to cut.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, Poland, due to the, let's say, I don't know, opinion, maybe a little bit less popular. But I think Germany or Benelux or the place like that would be the best for the European, the sort of lock and load con. And this is the best location because Germany is pretty cheap and available for everybody, and Poland have, some people may not want to come here because of the things.
Yeah, sure.
The bears on the streets.
Yeah, Marcin. Grumpy more.
I would recommend you take a look at the autumn for your event now that there's a big hole in the schedule. The autumn is so empty compared to the spring and the summer.
Okay, maybe you're right. Maybe we'll just postpone it to like late autumn, like October, like a month and a half after the WTC. I think that the ClubCon this year also suffered a little bit because it was so close. I mean, so close, right. It's 1 month.
Yeah, but I agree. It was a little earlier. Mid-November is where you want it.
Yeah. Before the Christmas time, to
That's
finish
right.
the year and things like that.
Rafał,
Marcin, you do it.
I will start organizing the event right after Sturgis will receive his CID.
That was not even so funny, Marcin. Okay, you can do better.
You can do better.
Yeah, I read somewhere on Facebook a nice comment. Sturgis CID 2037.
Not everything can be as good as I don't know, Circle right now, or maybe.
Yeah.
But
Circle Christmas back again.
But we are.
But the truth is, I wanted to organize it in
June.
In June, in Szczecin.
Okay.
But Szczecin is not it doesn't have an international airport, and the closest is 2 hours from Berlin. So Poznań would be a better location. So we have to talk about that.
Yeah, or maybe we can talk with Poznań is okay, but it's still not a big hub. But I think that if we can organize that with Dziekan in Warsaw, then would be the best solution. And he has, he has the willpower and not so grumpy as you, Marcin. So maybe
I know. Sorry, I need to go for 1 minute. Be right back. Continue on.
Okay, so I think that this is some kind of idea that we can talk with Dziekan, so one of the organizers and one of the players of WTC Team Poland Central, because he's willing to organize events. He is organizing our event that is like sort of tournament, but we call it a city tournament. So there will be a lot of small free person teams that will be playing in the Masters event, and it's really funny because people are not taking too much for this, and they are just having fun in this tournament, and a lot of casual players are participating in event like that. So we can ask him if we may organize together with us an event at the end of the year next year. Yeah, I will ask him. No problem. That's a good idea.
What time of year is his event?
His event is our event is like in February, so
February.
It's pretty close. But we are not ready yet to advertise that to the public. I would say this will be like a smaller. I mean, not small, because we expect to be at least 40 or 50 people or even more. But it's we don't want to show a standard like that. So we want to prepare better, and it will take some time.
I also think about how many people are visiting cons. There might be a thing that if you're organizing one of the first cons, you shouldn't expect too many people showing up, because that might be a blow to your finances.
Sure. I mean,
so if
50 should be considered a success by any measure.
Yeah. That was what I was thinking. If we are organizing the first con, we shouldn't aim for more than 50 people and do a quality con, small one with a lot of possibilities of playing games. So each person can play at least 10 games over the weekend. Probably if they are very willing to play like 12 or 13.
Also, I wanted to mention this to any organizer. The reason SmogCon became such a success is because me and John and some others put a ton of effort in promoting it. Tons of effort. Went on every podcast, posted in every forum, now Facebook group, on the national level. You cannot sit back and expect people to just show up anymore. There's just too much competition for their attention in terms of games and other events. So if you're going to do something like this, it needs to be lots of easily accessible information, and it has to be done on a very almost personal level. Like you need to get in touch with the major mover and shakers of each country to help you spread the word about it and keep them up to date on what's happening.
Yeah.
Okay. So to wrap up our episode, I think that on the positive note, we ask everybody to come and see the Conquest in Norway.
Yep.
You can check the details. I will just it's at conquest.2d6.no, and the time is where is it? I'm sorry.
It's 11th of January, I believe.
Okay. And
I think we'll put into the description all the details about this event.
Yeah, it's a good idea. It's 11th to 13th of January in Oslo. It's not as expensive because Norbert also wrote about that, and we talked about that on the podcast last year. Maybe it seems expensive, but in reality it's not more expensive than any other con if you are sticking to certain rules and not going out too much or things like that. So it's available to most of the people that are willing to travel. So we
just don't eat anything. Then it will be.
Don't bring potatoes because they are banned in Norway. Just by the way, so you cannot bring any potatoes to Norway.
To help supplement your diet, you're bringing potatoes with you. It's a Polish way to travel.
Yeah, with the potatoes. Okay, so
we just take Chinese soups, that's those small packages with the noodles.
Instant ones with the
instant noodles.
Instant noodles with the water. Okay.
I just want to make one last point. Yeah, just one last point. A lot of people say, well, this is beyond what I'm able to do. This is really big thinking. Look, the most important thing you can do, that anybody can do, is support an event. So, and I mean, A, plan to go to it. That's obvious. But B, help your friends go to it. Just the tiniest little impetus is all sometimes people need to help go to a thing. So tell them, like, I've already organized the way the flights would look. This is how we would go. This is what the costs are. So you already know that in advance. Let's make plans to go together so that we can, get to the airport together. These kind of like, if there's one person group who does that, they make a massive difference in the energy level in terms of people committing to go to this sort of thing. So that is something you can do. As we mentioned, there's a number of events that are quality events still happening in Europe. Seek them out. Contact any one of us on the podcast if you can't, and we will steer you in the right direction. But make that effort. It's a very small effort, but it pays huge dividends for you, your gaming group, and for the game overall.
Also, you can do what I do. I impulse buy tickets. Then I think, how can I get there? And if I can get there, if I cannot get there, then at least I supported the event.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I'm an impulse buyer. So what can I say?
Yeah, so for now we go to the conquest, if you may. They are already half full, and there are still, I don't know, 1, 2, almost 2.5 months before it happens. So there will be like 50 players for sure, or even more, playing, and then we will try to advertise other cons on our podcast and with our war room. I suppose Tomek with his website about the army list can also help us. Do you think, Tomek, is it possible to sometimes put some advertisement about the cons?
Do we have a website?
I mean the website.
He's suggesting.
No, he has. I mean, maybe it's Jekan's website about the army list that are winning currently in the. It's a black library
yes.
or
Iron Library.
It's Marcin's.
It's Marcin's. Okay, so I will ask Marcin, or you can ask him anyway. I don't know. I'm sort of organizer. That's why I always try to put people in motion, and that's my second nature. So, Marcin, can you try to wrap up with your voice, because I don't remember how to do it, honestly.
Yeah, I will ask. Does anybody want to, say something else at the end, or?
I want to thank you guys. I want to thank you guys for all the effort you put into streaming games. Streaming games is a huge contributor to the popularity of events, and it's very selfless work that you do with a lot of effort and money and time. So thank you so much for doing that, and this podcast too, for that matter.
You see, Marcin, positive note at the end. Stop being grumpy.
That's my pleasure. It's not as selfless, because I'm recording the games for future analysis, so
Oh,
yeah, sure. He cannot just accept a good word. He has to make it worth it. Okay, so thanks everybody for the participation.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Thanks Norbert for.
Thank you very much, Norbert. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Yeah,
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Boxcars. I hope you liked it. See you soon.